Welcome to this episode of Mercy Can't Stop Her. I am your host, Judith Ambia Obatusa, JKO. Last week, we highlighted the fact that leaving an abusive or difficult situation is not always an option for many women in these situations. We identified 5 factors that may make a woman unable to leave: financial limitations, concern for their children, lack of support from family or community, the woman's own emotional condition, and in extreme cases, fear for her safety and sometimes the safety of her children as well. We also emphasize that when women in abusive or difficult situations are empowered, they are able to take action, protect themselves, and also seek support. And they are able to show up more whole in their families and communities. This week, we want to talk about that third factor that we mentioned in the 5: family and community support. I feel that this third factor actually is like the thread that binds all the other 4. The financial limitations, concern for children, the woman's emotional condition, and fear. If we have this third factor in place, we are better able to get empowered to surmount the other 4. So this third factor, if you remember, is support from family and community. This one is the factor that all of us are collectively responsible for. So whether you are a friend or family member, or even a staff in a helping organization, we play a role in making this third factor of providing support. We are responsible for it. We play a role in making this factor a tool in empowering women. Whether you are a woman in a perfect life situation or even one who is also in a difficult situation, you can provide support to another woman. Studies have shown that women who have a strong support system of friends, family, and community organizations are more likely to feel empowered and take action when they are facing abuse or even when they are going through difficult life situations, maybe with their children, with their job, or their health, or any other kind of challenge that we face in the lives that we have. So you may ask, what can I actually do in my little part of the world to help? As John F. Kennedy, 35th President of the United States, said, one person can make a difference, and everyone should try. When we each bring our little drops of care to help that woman, together it becomes a deluge, a flood that creates the change that she needs in her emotions, her thinking patterns, and knowledge, and other areas of her life. Just imagine what that would do to the life that she has. Imagine how empowering her in all these areas would change her life and the lives of her children and other people who relate to her or who are connected to her. So one may wonder, you may be thinking, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do in my little part of the world? So let's explore 5 ways in which you can, and each of us actually can, support a woman who is in an abusive or difficult situation. So the first one is you approach them with empathy and understanding. So instead of judging or criticizing, why don't you leave all those things? Create a safe and supportive space. So where they can share their experiences and receive validation and support. Approaching them with empathy and understanding can go a long way in making a person in that situation feel heard and understood. One of the most common types of abuse is emotional, and people in that situation are not heard. They are made to feel like they are less than. So, giving them this safe space and hearing them by putting yourself in their shoes, which is what empathy is, it can really make a whole lot of difference. So just imagine your friend Sarah confides in you about the abuse she's experiencing at home. So instead of blaming her or telling her what she should do, why don't you leave? I can't take, if I'm in your shoes, I will not take this kind of thing. You can listen actively. So active listening, um, clarifying what she's saying by repeating it back to have a better understanding, giving her your full attention, providing a non judgmental ear, and then offering your empathy and understanding. Even a hug can make a whole lot of difference. Letting her know that she's not alone and that her feelings are valid can provide a sense of comfort, and actually it can empower her. Just knowing that somebody has got her back, even if it's not, you don't have the money to whisk her away and take her to a hotel for a weekend, but just being there, a phone call away, a text message away, it can make a whole lot of difference. And you can, it's just amazing when somebody listens to you and shows you that they care and they understand. And though that they can help you to change the situation in the blink of an eye, they are there for you. It's a whole world of good. Second way we can support a woman in this situation is we talked about listening actively and without judgment when we talked about empathy. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about that. So listening actively means giving your full attention. I mentioned that before, without interrupting or judging. When someone is sharing their experiences, look, this one is hard for me, without interrupting. Oh my Lord, it's almost like having to bite my lips together or put my hand over my mouth so I can just listen. Well, I found that breathing helps to quell my strong desire to open my mouth and tell and give the solution. It's about being present. So listening actively is about being present. So your full attention, not on your phone, not doing something else on the computer, not screaming at your children around, just around those in the kitchen, just totally listening. It can be very, very stressful for somebody who is in a challenging situation to call for help to be talking to you or visit you to tell you what's going on, and you're distracted. It's just breaks the spirit down. So being present in the moment and showing genuine concern for their well-being. So really being concerned about how they're feeling. Just even the question, how are you feeling? How are you? How is it? How are you taking it? It's it's a game changer for so many people. How are you? Those three words can make a whole lot of difference. Those three words coming from the heart. Often simply being heard can be a powerful experience. Like we said before, for a woman in an abusive situation, I think I tried to explain why they are not heard. Many times, such people are not heard. Even if the issue is with their child, maybe a teenager that has gone out of control, the teenager isn't listening. Mommy's words are twisted and misunderstood. So just having someone listen to her is a whole world of good, like I said it before. For example, maybe I'm giving scenarios here because when I was developing this, I was just thinking, what if for someone like me, I love examples. It helps me understand better. So today I just want to give a few examples. So in this case, maybe your colleague, Maria, seems distressed and withdrawn. You can approach her with kindness and ask if everything is okay. When she opens up about the abuse she's facing, you can actively listen without interrupting or offering unsolicited advice. Your compassionate listening can make her feel supported and understood. Listening without interrupting or offering unsolicited advice. It can be hard, but practice makes perfect, they say. And when we go back to our old ways of interrupting or offering unsolicited advice in the middle of the conversation, we should be humble enough to apologize and let your friend know that you're working on making those changes. And this is very helpful because then she may be feeling imperfect. Oh, I'm not perfect. She knows she's not alone in imperfection. We're all working on something. And this scenario is not fake. It's recently happened to me with a colleague at work. I called for something else and I noticed she wasn't herself. And I asked, and she told me what she was going through in her relationship. I started crying and I was able to give her some support. I'm not sure if I'd listened very well without interrupting or offering unsolicited advice, but I'm sure that I listened with concern. She knew I cared about her. And that's, I think, is the most important thing. Another thing, like, so we talked about approaching with empathy, then listening actively and no judgment. Yeah, keep our personal biases somewhere under our butt while we're in that conversation. Don't judge anyone. We are all trying to do our best in this life. The third thing we can do is connect the woman with resources and support systems. We don't have all knowledge. We can't provide everything, but we can help to connect them with other resources that can help them. So information that can help them make informed decisions about their safety and well-being. Look, when you're in these situations, your mind is going, I heard there's a term called monkey brain. There's no calmness in your head. And some of these resources will help you get that calmness. And in calmness, you find clarity. So one way that we can help connect them with resources to is to help support them to sign up for counseling services so that they can learn positive coping skills, get emotional support, and improve their mental health. So this is so important because one of the things we talked about last week was how a person's emotional condition could affect her, make her unable to make a move that will change her life positively. So when you're in a situation where there is chaos or crisis and the challenges are becoming overwhelming, being able to get some counseling, someone to help you learn to teach you positive coping skills and help you get emotional support and improve your mental health, it can make a whole lot of difference because our mental health is where we do our thinking. Our mind is where we do our thinking. And like we know, thoughts become things. If we don't get it together in that part of our person, we will have more problem. So it's important to support people in these situations to help get a good grasp on their mental health. Another thing we could connect them with is advocacy organizations that can offer them support and guidance, you know, so like legal support. So let me give an example. Your neighbor Lisa confides in you about the abuse she's experiencing from her partner. She's hesitant to seek help because she's afraid and she's uncertain how things will turn out. As we know, sometimes if we live in the developed world, your reaching out for help could turn into escalating situations and totally unravel your life sometimes. You can offer to help her find local resources, such as helplines or shelters, and provide information about counseling services or legal support. One one way you can help her is, sometimes people are scared, they can't do these things in their houses, and so you can offer to help her do the Google searches for them in your own home. That is, if it's a safe home too, because we mentioned before, whether you're even when you're in an abusive situation, you can help someone else. So doesn't mean because somebody is having difficulty in their lives that that's all that they are. We are more than our difficulty, so we are still valuable to others, even when our lives are not perfect. So you can help her do the searches from your end if it's safe for you, or you can ask around from others about where to find the resources. Abuse or being a challenging situation, difficult situation can be quite draining. So when we are able to offer practical help, it can really make a difference. Like doing a Google search, asking people and just saying, oh, this is available to you. And okay, I can drive you there. These are things, practical help. Your assistants can provide a woman in this situation with the necessary information and the different options she has. So we're not now talking about you need to leave or you don't need to leave. It's about getting enough knowledge to make an informed decision. So the fourth way we can help is by challenging harmful attitudes and behaviors. There are attitudes and beliefs that contribute to the abuse that many women are experiencing. We can change them by making others more aware of them. This is important because changing harmful attitudes and beliefs and behaviors generally, those harmful attitudes and behaviors that contribute to abuse requires collective efforts. It's all of us need to be responsible about making this change. It's not one person somewhere. It's not a particular organization. That's their work. We all have a role to play. So in our own little space, we can create change by speaking out against sexist or misogynistic language. So basically, misogynistic language, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, but bear with me. So it's language that undermines a woman and judges women negatively. Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines a misogynist as a person who hates or discriminates against women. So when you come across conversations or jokes that degrade or belittle women, instead of staying silent, you can speak out. You can speak up and challenge such harmful behaviors. or attitudes. Educating others about the impact of their words and actions can contribute to creating a more respectful and supportive environment for women. So the more of us that are speaking up, the less, hopefully, the less people continue those practices. Some people, that's how they were raised. They don't even know that these things are not very good. So by letting them see we are all work in progress, we're changing our world one person at a time. So another way we can challenge harmful attitudes and behaviors is by promoting healthy and respectful relationships and working to create a culture that values and respects women in their rights. So, when we talk about speaking up, you may wonder if your words will make a difference or whether your voice will even be heard. Let me encourage you with the words of Audre Lorde, American writer and civil rights activist, quoted her in the last episode as well. Audre Lorde said, when we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard or welcomed. When we are silent, we are still afraid. So it's better to speak. So you may think, oh, who cares about what I have to say? But you're not doing it for them that cares about what you have to say. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do. You can't not do the right thing because nobody acknowledges that you are doing it. You just do right because it's right to do it. So be encouraged to keep speaking up, challenging harmful attitudes and behaviors wherever you find them. Final idea I'm going to share about, or tip I'm going to share about how we can support women, how we can empower a woman who is in a difficult or abusive situation, is volunteering. There are organizations that focus on women's empowerment, on domestic violence prevention, or even domestic violence support. Sometimes they help those who have experienced it. So volunteering with these organizations can be a proactive way to support women in abusive situations. These organizations often provide critical services, some of the resources we talked about earlier on, like counseling, legal support, and advocacy to women experiencing abuse. And volunteering with them can make a significant impact. So you can volunteer your time and your skills to these organizations. So look for an organization like that near you and you can volunteer with them. So there are many ways to do this. You could assist with helplines, provide emotional support to survivors or to women in situations that are difficult, organize fundraising events, or support them in advocating for policy changes. So volunteering not only helps the organization, but also allows you to contribute directly to empowering women and making a positive difference in their lives. Now, talking about organizing fundraising events, Mercy Can Stop Her recently published their first love project. So our first love project was recently published in Letter to My Darling Husband, an anthology that is basically a collection of true love stories or love letters written in poetry and prose by 18 women. Proceeds of this anthology is being used to support the work of a domestic violence initiative. So you can get a copy of A Letter to My Darling Husband on Amazon anywhere in the world. I will put a link to Amazon.com in the show notes. So if you have Amazon.com, you can just go and change the country to the one that's your as near you. Then you now see the book there. So supporting women in abusive situations requires a holistic. So it's not give her shelter and then leave her to flounder. Yeah, we have to. It's an all encompassing, multifaceted approach. So we have to cover her in every area. So by providing empathy, active listening, connecting with resources, challenging harmful attitudes, and volunteering with organizations, we can each in our space, but collectively, when we all do it, empower women to break free from abusive situations and create a safer and more supportive environment for them. I'm all about empowering women. I'm all about a woman knowing who she is, finding her purpose. No, finding her voice and living in her purpose. So it's important that we do our own little bit. Ultimately, we need to understand that empowering women who are unable to leave abusive situations is about recognizing their agency and supporting their choices. So it's not about forcing your idea on them. Sometimes organizations go, people in the who are aware that somebody's in a difficult relationship because the woman didn't take their advice, and if she has children, they'll now go and report her to the government, and she'll lose her kids because she didn't take the advice to leave, even though she needed to gain some skills, some things to get her ready for her next move. So we need to understand that they have their own agency and support them to make as they make their own choices. Because at the end, it's about creating a world where women feel safe, valued, and respected, where we have the resources and support systems that we women need to thrive. So, to all the women out there who are experiencing abuse or are in very difficult situations, know that you are not alone. There is help available. And to every one of us listening, let's all commit to doing our part to support and empower women in our communities. Together, we can make a difference, one woman at a time. Next week, we'll begin a self care series. It focuses on tips that we can employ where we are to take care of our mind, body, and soul. Please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and share it with others who may benefit from the information on the podcast. We can support others just by sharing information that's at our disposal. When we do this, mercy won't stop us. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.